Hello everybody, I'm late with this episode, one day to be exact. So I will talk today about yesterday's ride. Yesterday was the 29th of July. It had around 33 degrees. It was the hottest day, to be honest, during this training session, which yesterday we had the fourth set in first week. Tomorrow will be the sixth set within this 2-week interval training block. And I did the training at 6 p.m. Currently it is 30 past 6 p.m. on Monday. So lately I was a bit concerned about my overall performance, that actually the rides I take for pleasure won't be as enjoyable as usual. So on Friday I did an interval training session, and on Saturday I went for a ride which actually was around 12 kilometers with 1400 meter of difference in altitude. And my concern was that actually I won't have the necessary power and stamina to go as fast as usual. Because normally if I take a long ride, which a long ride means normally 5 hours, with 1500 meter different in altitude and also around 10 to 14 kilometers. The next day I'm normally not able to do the same again. So I did this once, and on the second day I struggled really hard doing a ride like that. So I usually take one day off. So I was a bit concerned because on Friday I did the interval training, and on Saturday I went for this long ride. At the beginning I thought actually it would impact my riding, because the first 2 kilometers had around 16% grade. It didn't felt that good, but not too bad. So I went ahead, and during the ride I didn't feel any difference, to be honest. No positive, no negative difference. And the funny thing was, a bit off topic, but just a few hundred meters out of the village, I saw a deer next to the street standing still, trying to pretend that it isn't there. So pretty fascinating, because it was 8 a.m. in the morning and the deer was so close next to the road. Such things, I guess you only experience them if you go for a ride with your own leg power, because the speed of the e-bike, I would say, would frighten them and they would run away. Anyways, back to interval training and the ride on Saturday. So as I said, there wasn't a big difference at the beginning. I thought it would impact my ride in a negative way, but I didn't notice the difference until the end. The last section of the ride is pretty hard. The road is not that well maintained. There are a few bigger rocks and it's not that compact, so no tarmac. It's a forest road, to be honest, with larger rocks, and they are a bit loose, so you lose a lot of force by climbing over those small rocks. So normally I would almost crumble at this section because it's also steep. I don't know the exact grade percentage, but still for the end where my stamina isn't at the maximum, it's really hard, and I almost quit there every time. But I noticed that taking a break is actually not that advantageous. So pushing through, even if it's hard, is the better option. As resting, in my experience, means that your muscles take a pause and therefore get weaker. So you have to push through and force your muscles to go to the maximum, which in the end turns out better. As I said, until the end I hadn't any positive experience from doing the interval training the last week. But on this specific section I felt that it wasn't as hard as usual. So doing those sprints for 5 minutes, which actually this section, it requires more high intensity than stamina, to be honest. So it's a shorter section but steeper in that case. And I noticed, or at least I think, that those 5 minutes sprints, those 5 minutes of intense intervals I do during the interval training actually helped me a lot conquering this section. So I wasn't as exhausted as normally when I reached the top. If you're curious which ride it was up to Seespitz or Vigiljoch, and there is a pretty nice trail. You can see the videos on my Instagram. I'm going to post a video from the trail just after recording this podcast. It's the Sturmbruch Trail. Sturmbruch stands for stone pit in German, or in the dialect I speak, or we speak here in South Tyrol. It's called that way because in the middle of the trail you pass a stone pit. That about the trail. As usual, if you have any questions or suggestions, as I'm trying this experiment without reading that much on the internet, I rely more on my experience and my insights and your insights. Feel free to call in on anchor.fm or write me a question on Instagram or YouTube. My Instagram handle is Georg1SC. Can also be found in the podcast description and in the description of this episode. Let me know how you like the podcast so far. It would be really cool to hear some opinions from your side. Thank you, and until the next time.